So we've been asked to come up with 5 takeaways from the last couple of weeks at the Constellation Incubator. And the first one for me is that a couple of weeks ago when we got together, we were asked to sort of imagine how we would run our film studio based on the weirdest things, like if Voldemort was doing it, and if the Cirque du Soleil was doing it, and if we could all live forever, and if we had $1, and if we had an infinite amount of dollars to do it. And at first it felt very scary and weird. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. What am I supposed to do with this? But it turned out to be very generative, right? If you think about all of these things, and we had to write really quickly ideas that we would do based on each one of these prompts, and then we all got to compare the ideas we had come up with, and it turned out to be amazing in terms of figuring out how to come up with outside the box thinking thoughts. So that's the first takeaway, that sometimes these things that make no sense at all end up being very generative. The other one is that working with such a limited amount of time, I don't know what we had, like a minute or 30 seconds per sort of scenario, takes your inhibitions and you're like, that part of your mind that's like, oh no, that's a terrible idea, don't even go there. And it has to shut up because you have to write something down. So it also gives you a really cool sort of more adventurous way of thinking, which is what we're trying to get at. On the same note though, the third thing that I want to say is that there isn't enough time, not for these very short sort of sparking your ideas moments, but for once you've come up with ideas, what you then have to do to begin to create something more feasible, right? Like we go from all these Cirque du Soleil acrobats and people who live forever to a model that works. And that part has been a struggle, I think, for all the teams, certainly for us. And we meet outside of the time that we've been allotted with the incubator. But even so, I just got out of a meeting that we did an hour and a half to prepare for our presentation on Wednesday, and we could have met for 10 more hours. So that's an interesting takeaway that, you know, for short ideas, a small amount of time, great, but to then think through the ideas, one might need a little bit more time. The fourth takeaway is that they had us come up with like prototypes for things that we were imagining, right? Like, and we were supposed to, well, I used Legos, and people used, a lot of parents apparently, because people were using like little owl toys and sort of all sorts of children's toys to sort of create these things. And at first it felt very weird, right? To be like, why, how am I supposed to like use these materials as an adult to create something that will feel pitchable and viable? But it was cool, you know, like it helped us think in a new playful way, which I think is part of the assignment. And the fifth takeaway is that if you bring people together with very different backgrounds and personalities and ages and ways of thinking and so on, and you put them through all these weird hoops that we've been put through, you do get some really amazing stuff. Like we each have a different, like some of them are really good at understanding financing and production. Some of us are better at being organizational and having analytical thinking skills and sort of bringing everybody back together. Some of us have more of the optimist, some of them have more of the pessimist, and you bring all of that together and you get some amazing ideas, I hope. So anyway, that's it. Those are my 5 takeaways. Thank you.